When it comes to brutally honest comedy, few names carry the same weight as Chelsea Handler. Known for her sharp wit, fearless storytelling, and unfiltered takes on everything from relationships to fame, Handler has built a career on telling it like it is, or at least, most of the time. But in a refreshingly candid moment that left fans laughing and nodding in recognition, Handler recently admitted that she once told a pretty big fib involving none other than Hollywood icon Goldie Hawn. And the reason? Surprisingly simple, adorably relatable, and undeniably human, a comedic confession that stole the spotlight. During a recent appearance that quickly gained traction online, Handler opened up about a moment where she wasn't entirely truthful about her connection to Goldie Hawn. The story, delivered in her signature comedic style, was less about deception and more about social awkwardness, a universal experience that resonated instantly with audiences. Handler explained that she had exaggerated, or outright invented, a connection with Hawn in a conversation. Why? Not for fame, not for personal gain, but simply to navigate an uncomfortable situation. It was one of those moments where silence felt awkward, the truth felt too plain, and a tiny embellishment seemed like the easiest way out. I just said it, Handler admitted, laughing at herself. And then I had to keep going. It's a scenario many people know all too well. One small fib, told in the moment, suddenly snowballs into something much bigger. Before you know it, you're committed to the story. Why this story feels so relatable. Part of what made Handler's confession so endearing is how incredibly common the behavior is. While most people don't have the opportunity to casually drop a name like Goldie Hawn into conversation, the instinct behind it is universal. We've all been there, pretending to have seen a movie we haven't, nodding along in a conversation we barely understand, exaggerating a connection to seem more interesting or avoid awkwardness. Handler's story taps into that shared human experience. It's not about dishonesty, it's about social survival. And coming from someone as outspoken as Chelsea Handler, the admission carries even more weight. If someone known for her blunt honesty can admit to a harmless fib, it makes everyone else feel a little less guilty about their own. The Goldie Hawn factor. Of course, it doesn't hurt that the story involves Goldie Hawn, a beloved figure whose name alone evokes warmth, charm, and decades of iconic performances. From her breakout on Rowan and Martin's Laugh into starring roles in films like Private Benjamin and Overboard, Hawn has remained a cultural mainstay. Her reputation as one of Hollywood's most genuine and joyful personalities makes her the perfect accidental accomplice in Handler's story. There's something inherently funny about choosing Goldie Hawn as the centerpiece of a made-up anecdote. She's not just famous, she's universally adored. Dropping her name instantly elevates any story, which is likely part of why Handler's fib worked so well in the moment. Comedy rooted in truth. Handler's confession also highlights a key element of great comedy, truth. Even when comedians exaggerate or embellish, the foundation of their humor often lies in real, relatable experiences. Handler has built her brand on this principle, blending personal stories with sharp observations about human behavior. By admitting to her own moment of social awkwardness, she's doing exactly what great comedians do, turning everyday experiences into something entertaining. It's this authenticity that keeps audiences coming back. Whether she's talking about relationships, aging, or awkward conversations, Handler has a way of making people feel seen. The psychology behind Little White Lies. Handler's story also opens the door to a broader conversation about why people tell small lies in social situations. Psychologists often refer to these as prosocial lies, minor untruths told to maintain harmony, avoid discomfort, or protect someone's feelings. Unlike malicious lies, these are typically harmless and even socially accepted. In Handler's case, the fib wasn't about deception, it was about smoothing over an awkward moment. It's the same reason someone might say they're on their way when they haven't left the house yet, or claim to love a gift they don't actually like. These small lies are part of the social fabric. They help people navigate complex interactions without unnecessary friction. When a fib becomes a story. What makes Handler's anecdote especially funny is the way a simple lie can spiral into a full-blown narrative. Once you've told the initial fib, there's often pressure to maintain it. Details get added, the story grows, and suddenly, you're far more invested than you ever intended to be. Handler leaned into this idea, joking about how one small comment turned into something much bigger than she expected. It's a comedic trope as old as storytelling itself, but when it happens in real life, it's even more amusing. Celebrity culture and name-dropping. Handler's story also touches on the role of name-dropping in celebrity culture. In industries like entertainment, connections can carry significant weight. Knowing the right people, or appearing to, can open doors, spark interest, or simply make a conversation more engaging. While Handler's fib wasn't about career advancement, it does highlight how casually mentioning a well-known figure can change the dynamic of a conversation. And let's be honest, if you're going to name drop, you could do a lot worse than Goldie Hawn. Fans react. We've all done this. Unsurprisingly, Handler's confession quickly resonated with fans, many of whom took to social media to share their own similar experiences. Comments ranged from amused to deeply relatable. "This is literally me in every awkward conversation. I once pretended I knew how to ski for an entire weekend. The way one small lie turns into a whole story is too real." The overwhelming response was one of empathy rather than judgment. People weren't criticizing Handler, they were laughing with her. It's a reminder that vulnerability, even in the form of a humorous confession, can be incredibly powerful. Goldie Hawn, the unwitting star of the story. While Handler's confession was the main event, Goldie Hawn's presence looms large over the entire story. Hawn has long been known for her warmth, humor, and down-to-earth personality. It's easy to imagine why someone might feel comfortable invoking her name in a casual conversation. In a way, Hawn's reputation enhances the story. The idea of casually claiming a connection to someone so universally beloved adds an extra layer of humor. And who knows, if Hawn ever hears about the anecdote, she might find it just as amusing as everyone else. Owning the moment. Perhaps the most important aspect of Handler's confession is her willingness to own it. Rather than glossing over the fib or pretending it never happened, she turned it into a story, one that highlights her self-awareness and sense of humor. In doing so, she reinforces the idea that it's okay to laugh at yourself. Everyone makes awkward choices. Everyone tells the occasional white lie. What matters is how you handle it afterward. Handler chose to share it with the world, and in the process, turned a small moment into a big laugh. Why we love Chelsea Handler. This story is a perfect example of why Chelsea Handler remains such a compelling figure in entertainment. She's honest, even when it's embarrassing. Relatable, despite her celebrity status. Funny, without trying too hard. Her ability to find humor in everyday situations, and to share those moments openly, sets her apart in a crowded field. In an era where public personas are often carefully curated, Handler's willingness to admit to something as trivial as a social fib feels refreshing. A lesson in laughing at ourselves. At its core, Handler's story isn't really about Goldie Hawn or even the fib itself. It's about the shared human experience of navigating social situations. We all want to be liked. We all want to avoid awkwardness. And sometimes, that leads us to say things that aren't entirely true. But instead of feeling ashamed, Handler reminds us that these moments can be funny. They can be stories. They can even be opportunities to connect with others. Final thoughts. Chelsea Handler's admission about her Goldie Hawn fib is a small story with a big impact. It's funny, relatable, and surprisingly insightful, a reminder that even the most confident, outspoken people have moments of social awkwardness. And more importantly, it shows that those moments don't have to be hidden. They can be shared, laughed about, and turned into something meaningful. Because at the end of the day, it's not the fib that matters, it's the laughter that comes after. And in that sense, Chelsea Handler didn't just tell a story.